relieved with that result in the end, Alastair?
Yeah. Gee, what's been really pleasing the last month is we've been in games of footy. Obviously, with the start that we had today, we're hoping the margin might have been a little bit better than that at the end of the game with the way that we started. And I'm sure Roos and the Tigers are lamenting the fact that they are 4 goals down at quarter time. But to their credit, they've been playing with a lot of spirit, and they worked their way back into the game in the second quarter, and then it just became a real arm wrestle. And I'm not sure what Roos said about the game, but it felt like going to the dentist. It was hard work, and both sides, it became a pretty scrappy affair in the second half. But the endeavour was there. Both sides had over 90 tackles, and on a day where you'd expect the ball to be out in the open and moving pretty swiftly, both sides their endeavour, and caused a lot of stoppages, and the game was a pretty scrappy affair. But where we're at the moment, the wins are important for us, and we're able to win a close game after drawing last week's game and a couple of close losses the previous 2 weeks to that. It's pleasing that we finally got 4 points next to our name.
Toby Pink right there. I mean, he had a really good game today down back.
Was that
Toby Pink?
Yeah.
To take that really important mark with less than a minute to go.
Yeah, and he had a pretty big assignment. He's playing on Tom Lynch for most of the day, so he's been a leading forward in the game for well over a decade. So it was a big assignment for him, and they had a fair amount of supply too, especially in the second quarter. I think 19 inside 50s to 4 or 6 or something for the quarter. So our backs held up under a fair amount of duress in the second quarter. But we've been pleased with the way that he's gone over the last couple of weeks, Toby, since he's come into the side.
What about Cam Zerha? 4 goals and apparently went in with a pretty serious injury on his other foot.
Yeah, well, he's just, his mental strength. He had an interrupted preparation with a bit of a virus and a sore foot that was just grumbled along. And but he was really important for us, particularly early. And in a low-scoring game to kick 4 goals, you're pretty influential to the final outcome. So. Really pleased with his contribution, but really good example for all our players. Just sometimes you got to play under a little bit of duress, and he just managed his mind really strongly today and made a contribution for the team that was pretty important for us.
He was the one who went behind the ball at those stoppages at the end on the wing. How do you feel that was managed, and wasn't it an improvement on the last couple of weeks of close games?
As I said during the week, you do all your scenario planning in the off season, and then the best way to actually practice and rehearse it and get better at things is when you get opportunities in real life games. As much as you try to plan these things and practice them at training, it's getting yourself in positions in games. So we've had 4 in a row now where there've been close contests, and sometimes you get it right and you still don't win the game. In 2 or 3 of the instances over the last, and I'm not sure we exactly got it right this week, and we did win the game. Sometimes despite all your good intentions, it doesn't always work out for you. But we've got plans in place when at close game scenarios, and we're just lucky that we in front when the siren sounded today.
Has something changed in the past month, because you've obviously restricted the opposition to lower scores, and as you said, the defence held up a little bit?
Yeah. We needed to make some pretty solid changes, Pete, to the way that we're defending behind the ball. We're just allowing far too many opposition scores in inside 50s, and a lot of that was to do with just how many uncontested marks we were conceding and how much easy ball they were able to move down the ground. So we have tightened up in that space, and maybe earlier in the year there was too much of a focus on when we had the footy rather than what they did. But we've tightened up and put a greater onus on that in the last 4 weeks. It's not to suggest that we didn't have an onus on it in the early part of the season from a coaching point of view, but sometimes the execution of it was just a little bit wayward. So we've had a really strong focus on that, and it's at least allow us to compete. I think that's the 4th week in a row we've been able to keep teams to, I think last 3 weeks we've kept them to underneath 70 or 80 points, and I think Port Adelaide kicked about 94 or something like thereabouts. So 4 weeks in a row we've kept teams under 100 points when the previous 3 weeks, and indeed games earlier than that, they were kicking over 100 points. So that was something that we needed to correct, and at least it's allowed us to be in contests. It hasn't guaranteed us victories. Obviously, we've only won one of the last 4, but at least it's allowed us to be in games. So there's been a big shift in that space, and hopefully it can continue for us in the second half of the year.
How important was it to get a win against a team that's similarly ranked with you guys on the ladder and probably similarly in terms of rebuild, just to get that sort of, reinforcement that you are, on the right track?
Well, it's just a little bit of validation, I think, and but everyone who watched the game would understand and appreciate that our skill level and our decision making, that sort of stuff, needs to improve a lot, and same with the Tigers. So it was hardly any thrilling affair outside of the fact that it was a close game and no one knew who was going to win until the last 30 seconds of the game, and even then it was up in the air. So. It's good to get some validation, but we know we need to consolidate the way we want to play. We've just said to Pete, we've shown some signs of that, particularly around our capacity to stop opposition from scoring so heavily. So that's been a marked improvement for us, but we still need to get so much better in that space. And the part of the game that probably let us down a little bit today with some of the decision making we had when we had the footy. And so we've got a lot of work to do, but at least the win shows that and it shows our supporters that at least we can compete.
Did you feel like LDU, I know it's not one bloke, but he's a key player, lifted in that last quarter?
Yeah, he's an important player for us, obviously, and his second half was a lot stronger than his first. We got forward and kicked the goal early in the game, which was handy for us because he played a little bit more forward today than what he'd done in the past. So just having that flexibility, particularly if he's got a guy sitting on him, if he can go forward and hit the scoreboard, that's valuable for us. So we're going to trial that a little bit more in the next few weeks and see how it goes for us and give some more exposure. I thought Colby Kircher played a really good game for us today. He played a little bit more midfield. A young player in his second season. I think he had 10 or 11 tackles, a lot of them early, and I'm sure he will rue one that he missed in the second quarter that created a goal for him. But we were really pleased with the contribution that he made, and it was a really positive step forward for him.
Can you speak to Jai Simpkins' resilience, obviously, to lead the team after losing his grandmother early in the week?
Yeah, well, as we've seen, it's just been a pretty tragic week for a lot of people involved in footy. But everyone's got their own personal circumstances they've got to deal with too. Obviously with Wolsey passing away, he was an icon in the game, both as a player and a coach. And not that it's widely known, but Jai loses his grandma very, very close to her. And then we have the dreadful situation with the Selwood family, who are just, I can't imagine there'd be a person in the world whose heart wouldn't sink so low to understand what that poor family's having to deal with now with the passing and tragic passing of Adam. So it puts things in perspective. And I tip my lid to the Collingwood Football Club, who with Scott heavily involved with their club yesterday. They get a call in the morning that this is unfolded, and somehow they've got to put that aside and get yourself ready to play a game of footy. I mean, you can see the emotion in Fly post game. It's just so difficult when things like that happen. It's nearly like you want the whole world just to stop for a couple of days, just so you can get your head around things and put things back in perspective again. Because we love this game, but it's nothing compared to the love of our family and our friends. And we've in the Selwoods and the Walls, and certainly with Jai, these sorts of things happen in our lives, and it's with real heavy hearts that we have to move forward. Good on you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.